Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the P. Carroll Sport Podcast. Paul Carroll here on this Tuesday, the 27th of January, exactly 20:59, 8:59 in the evening as I'm recording this. On this week's episode, we are going to be looking back on Tipperary against Galway in round one of the National Hurling League 2026. We're going to talk through the game, different factors around the game, some suggestions from the listeners from my Twitter account and Instagram. Talk a little bit about the sneering at Tipperary's attendance. I'll get into that. Talk a bit about free taking. There was someone going on a solo run on Twitter regarding Darren McCarthy's free taking and how long it was taken. So I've done a bit of research on that I'm going to bring to you later in the podcast. We'll go down through Liam Cahill's quotes, some interesting updates regarding players' fitness and injury situations and things like that. So we're going to get to that. We'll talk a little bit about the Harty Cup final that's coming up. We'll talk about the Tipperary footballers. Of course, I was over in London as well on Sunday. We'll talk a bit about that. And the club fixtures were also announced today, Tuesday, January 27th. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well over the course of the next, let's say, 45 to 60 minutes or so. So if you are new to the channel, podcast every week, looking ahead and looking back on Tipperary hurling for the most part. So if you enjoy that, subscribe to the channel. It's all free. And like this video, that helps me out a lot as well. And if you're on Twitter or any of those platforms, Instagram, I'm at P Carroll Sport, TikTok as well. Any likes, shares, all that stuff is very much appreciated. So let's get straight into it. We'll start with the game itself. So I'll bring it up on my screen in front of me. You should be able to see that as well. So this is just the Tipperary team that lined out. So Tipperary beat Galway 121 to 116 full-time score. I'm looking to my right here. I have my commentary notes from when I was commentating on the game on Saturday night on Tip FM. Well, not the notes, but just the team sheet. Also, why this podcast is Tuesday. This is a bit late for me. I usually like to do it on a Sunday night or a Monday. A quick update. Saturday, I was in Semple Stadium for the Tipperary match. Really, really wet day. We'll get to that. So that was Saturday evening, 7 o'clock throw-in time. I was up at Sunday morning at 5:30 here in Burgess to drive up to Dublin Airport to get an 8:40 a.m. flight over to Heathrow for the 1 o'clock throw-in time between Tipperary and London in Division 4 National Football League. After that, taxi back to Heathrow for a 6:45 p.m. flight back to Dublin, back in Dublin at around 8 o'clock, and drove back down and was back here in the house at 10:15 on Sunday. So no podcast was going to get recorded then because I was absolutely knackered. Just panned out on the couch watching a bit of the NFL on Sunday, went to bed, was working Monday on with Fran Curry on Monday morning at 9 o'clock. Then I was reading the news bulletins throughout the afternoon on Monday, so that's a later finish to the workday. So I didn't get back till 7, 8 o'clock, tired again. Hadn't really put together my thoughts for the podcast. And here we are Tuesday working during the day, and here I am at 9 o'clock in the evening getting the podcast going. So that's why it's a little bit later than usual. I hope next week is a bank holiday Monday, so Sunday evening, I can't imagine I'll be here talking to myself in the kitchens. So I'll probably be Monday evening next week. So that's going to be at least one day earlier, all going well. So that's been my weekend. Busy one, but very enjoyable and a good weekend all around in terms of sporting results. Tipperary winning, getting a last minute draw over in London. Munster had a good win on Friday night in the rugby, and of course Man United had a big win on Sunday, which kept me very happy as the airplane was taxiing in Heathrow, watching that on my phone. So you're not here to listen to me talk about Man United, and so let's get straight into the hurling. So 121 to 116, Tipperary beat Galway to start the National Hurling League. And first things first, a real grind out of a win for Tipperary. It was a game that the first half I thought was very slow paced and not great to watch, but 9 points apiece at the half, and a lot of that was down to the weather conditions. When I was driving down on Saturday afternoon to Thurles, I was driving and it was miserable rain as I was passing down through the rag, and I was thinking, a lot of people are going to look out their window and they could be curled up beside the fire and think, this game is on telly. It's absolutely awful outside. I might just give this a miss and watch this on TV. But 7,700 and something was the official attendance. I have it written down in my podcast notes, which we'll get to later in the show. But I was happy with the attendance. There was a good attendance there given the evening that was in it. But the evening that was in it made it very difficult for both sets of players. Like, I felt bad for the likes of a Jack Leamy in there. You know, if you're a forward in those conditions, ball coming into you, you're never going to be able to create too much separation from your man. It's not like the ball is going to skid onto the bounce up for you nicely. It's skidding off the ground. It's wet, dirty, hard to control the ball. So difficult kind of place to make your debut, but that's just how it falls. And it was the same conditions for everyone, of course. So difficult hurling conditions. Thought Tipperary probably fortunate to go in at the break level. Galway had an awful lot of wides throughout the game. I think I have them down for 13. I've tipped down for 6. I've seen Tip having 7 wides and Galway having 14 in different places, so I wouldn't get hung up exactly on those figures. I'm just marking them as I'm commentating, and it's very easy to forget when you're commentating, particularly on radio, to mark these things off. But yeah, Tip went in 9 points apiece at half time, and you kind of felt neither team had really gotten into flow. There were some nice scores, but nothing major to report from that first half, except for one just exceptional moment that I'm sure you've all seen numerous times since Saturday evening, and that was Jason Rabbit, who a lovely turn, flicked the ball up into his hand, turns, I think Michael Breen maybe might have been on him and slipped, and pops a hand pass off to Aaron Nyland, and you're just waiting for the net to bulge, and Cathal O'Reilly gets this unbelievable block from behind. When we were commentating in Semple Stadium, I didn't have a screen or anything in front of me, so I watched it first time. I actually thought he hooked him, but of course the ball went flying, so he obviously blocked him and flicked the ball out. That was just unbelievable. And Cathal O'Reilly, like, what a debut for him. Is he 19 yet? He's under 19 this year with Holy Cross. Like, he's under 20 again next year with Tipperary. So he's under 20 this year and next year with Tip. So really, really young player. But I was very impressed with how he played. And as Liam Call mentioned in his kind of post-match audios, that that's no surprise to anyone from Tipperary. We've seen Kyle with the Tip underage teams, of course, minor captain in 2024, but also at Holy Cross this year at adult hurling level, looked very comfortable both in a cornerback marking someone, but also out the field as well. He's a good hurler like as well. He's not just a kind of sticky man marker, but thought he was very impressive. And it was a nice debut matchup for him in terms of he's marking another lad making his debut in Aaron Nyland, so they kind of matched up well, so that worked out nice. If he was in there against Conor Whelan or a Martin Keown or someone like that, or an Alan Connolly, that's a different challenge, but it was maybe a nice matchup for him, just given the age profile of Aaron Nyland, really. So, but really impressed with Cathal O'Reilly. A brilliant performance from him. We'll go through all the players individually, but second half I thought Tipperary come out with a little bit more life in them. Darius Stakelin come on for Jack Leamy at half time. He cut out a short puck out to the 45. He cut that out. Jake put it over the bar, and it was a bit more intense than the first half, but it still wasn't that kind of edge of your seat, crowd getting involved kind of game until that moment where it was a John Fleming maybe who was soloing with the ball between the 265s, and he swung back, as hurlers kind of do, some hurlers do anyway, breaking through tackles, they kind of swing back. And I haven't actually seen a replay back of this, but he seemed to have caught Sam O'Farrell, and Sam O'Farrell just went down holding his arm or his hand. Referee gives a free, and Cathal Mannion, who comes on, I think, did he come on at half time? Or certainly in the second half anyway for Galway, he came over to pull Sam O'Farrell up as if to say, get up, there's nothing wrong with you. And that wasn't something that I think Willie Connors and the lads took great, I suppose, not something, it's something they took umbrage to, you could say. And all kind of hell broke loose for 20 seconds, and everyone was pushing and shoving, and everyone was kind of running in and shouldering and stuff like that. But that incident kind of got everyone's temperatures up, both on the field and in the stadium as well. And I thought the last 15-20 minutes was really good because of that, or after that, because everyone was a little bit more up for the game. People were kind of flying into tackles and shoulders, and the crowd were really getting behind the team. and then Darius Stakelum gets the goal. I thought Andrew Orman done really, really well for that goal. The ball breaks through, and you can sense there's a chance on, but the ball is just bouncing away from him as he's running up to it. Wet day, difficult conditions. He gets the ball into his hand. I think he's knocked to the ground, and then pops a hand pass off to Jake Morris. He pops a quick hand pass in to Darius Stakelum, and Darius Stakelum blasts it to the back of the net. And Tip had taken the lead. Conor Stakelum had just got a point before that where Oisin O'Donoghue came sliding out, and did he pick it up off the ground? Maybe he did. I've only kind of seen it back once, but not like forensically, but he came sliding in and got it into his possession and played it into Conor Stakelum, and he put it over the bar, and that gave Tip the lead. Then Darius Stakelum's goal gives Tip a 4-point lead, and Tip didn't really look back then for the last 10 minutes, which is a really good sign of the team. When the game really mattered in that last 15 minutes, I thought Tip did really, really well. We'll get to Galway as well. I was really impressed with some of Galway's young players, or we can just get to it now. Killian Trayers, who was named at 6, I hadn't seen him play in the flesh before. I thought he was really, really good. Just very comfortable out there. Gavin Lee scored the first point of the game. He's a real impressive ball striker, Gavin Lee. There's a real hurler in him, so I like watching him. Their half-forward line was very impressive. Darren Neary with 2 points, made one class catch over at the newsstand side of the field, so it's the side opposite to the tunnel, playing down towards the climbing end. A brilliant catch and a brilliant point from the sideline there. I was impressed with him, kind of a long, tall, kind of long player, and he made his debut. Rory Burke, 1-3 for him. John, these are all young players for Galway. Well, certainly Rory Burke and Killian Trayers, Aaron Nyland, Jason Rabbit. Like, he was, he's someone that we would have seen play against Thurles in the Crow Cup final last year. John, that's not even 12 months ago, but he's a big ball winner and the type of player I really like watching. And a few times he popped off lovely hand passes, and that was a really impressive debut for him. And John, if I was a Galway supporter, I'd be excited with what I saw. John, not an easy day for hurling whatsoever, and the young lads there kind of stepped up. And Tom Monaghan is another one in midfield. Anytime I've seen Tom Monaghan, and maybe it's just against Tipperary, he always seems to be a threat anyway. And he got on a bit of ball, set up a few scores the other day. Cathal Mannion, when he came on, Cathal Mannion was like at his ease, leisurely, just doing what he wanted, because he's real skillful and talented, and he sees the field really well, and it just makes it look so easy to him. So he's a real fine hurler. That's nothing new to anyone. But Aaron Nyland was getting on ball, was getting shots away, just conditions, etc. A lot of them didn't go over the bar, but he got 2 points for a finish. But Jason Rabbit really impressed him, and Aaron Nyland, of course, could have had that goal if it wasn't for the brilliance of Cathal O'Reilly. So I think Galway can be happy with how they played, how they got minutes into all these young lads, and they can really look to build on that, really. And you can see that Galway are playing it slightly different. There was a lot of short passing and 15-yard passes going on with Galway that maybe we haven't seen as much in recent years. But that was Galway. Let's get back to Tipperary. I mentioned how good they finished the game, which is really good to see. We'll go down through player by player and how they got on. Let's start with Rhys Shelley. Kind of got caught for the goal. It was a brilliant finish by Rory Burke. A bit of a mistake from Tipperary. The short puck out went to Brian O'Mara, and he played it like if you watch this podcast, you know I'm a massive fan of Brian O'Mara. But one thing I always say is he tries every pass because he knows that he can hit those passes, and 99% of the time he can hit those perfect passes. But it was a ball that kind of wasn't on when he got the ball in the kind of cornerback position coming out from a short puck out. Played it into the middle of the field, and the Galway man just beat the tip man to the ball, and suddenly Galway had an overlap. The hand pass goes in over the head of Brian O'Mara, and one more hand pass to Rory Burke, and he just takes it very quickly. And Rhys Shelley, like I'd say if Rhys was looking back on it, he would tell you himself that he was just a half step too far over to his near post, and it left the far side open, so he dived and was at full stretch. But there was still a 2-3 foot gap between his outstretched hurley and the corner, and it was a brilliant finish by Rory Burke, but just a half step off is all Rhys was. But brilliant finish by Rory Burke. Rhys, 1 or 2 puck outs went astray, but I mean the conditions. If you weren't there, it was just teeming down rain for the whole game. And as playing in goals myself, I used to hate playing when it was in real wet conditions like that. I didn't mind playing in those conditions, but for puck outs, if you ever wanted to try and ping one, certainly my technique anyway, the ball used to skid off the hurley a lot, so that used to be frustrating. So that can often happen in wet conditions. So, but yeah, other than that, Reece did fine. I thought Cathal O'Reilly, we mentioned him, just a real good debut for Cathal O'Reilly, and 18, maybe 19 years of age, and to be out there with the Tipperary senior hurlers. And even when he got that hook, I think he won the free then coming out with that ball. So that was just real brilliant stuff. Robert Doyle went off injured in the first half, which is a little bit of a worry. I believe he was to get a scan this week. Seemed to be a hamstring. Johnny Ryan came on for him. Johnny Ryan got caught in a mismatch with Jason Rabbit at one stage where a high ball came in, and Rabbit is just such a big man for a young man, and Johnny Ryan kind of got caught on him, so they actually switched Johnny Ryan and put Michael Breen on Jason Rabbit, which was a much more favourable matchup, I suppose, for Tipperary. But I thought Johnny Ryan done fine. Like, we all know Johnny at this stage, he can kind of do it all. He's a real utility player for Tipperary. If someone got injured out further out the field, Johnny can come in and slot in and do a fine job. So I think that's kind of what we got from Johnny Ryan in that game. Michael Breen, likewise, bust out with a few balls, put in a few heavy shoulders and stuff like that. Joe Caesar was another one that came off. He came off. I saw Liam Cowell come up to him at half time when they were walking in, and I was wondering, what's he said to him there? And then Joe got taken off like straight away at the start of the second half, and I was like, God, maybe Liam told him, look, if you don't do this, you're coming off. And then Joe didn't do that and he got taken off. But that's not the case. It was a precaution, an injury precaution, why Joe Caesar came off. So, Joe was very solid, very comfortable on the ball. And hopefully nothing too major for him. Brian O'Mara, I thought, was really, really good in that sweeper role. Such a good ball player, real strong physical player now as well. And his hooking and blocking is always top notch, and he's a ball striker, and it's nice to see him in that number 6. But yeah, his half back line is going to be his spot. Seamus Kennedy, really solid game. Like, Seamus Kennedy is just so reliable, and he's just been really good for Tipperary for a real long time. And the point he got at the end of the match, just flicking the ball over Dottie Burke's head and slotting it over for the last point of the game. Brilliant stuff from Seamus Kennedy, as we've come to expect. Willie Connors and Conor Stakelum, two absolute battle horses in the middle of the field. Willie Connors had a brilliant game. I thought he read it so well. Through the lines, Willie's passing is really good. His deliveries are really good. I mentioned he read the ball well. A couple of times we saw like long deliveries or long puck outs, and Willie is in behind the breaking ball onto it and setting up the next attack for Tipperary. Conor Stakelum is one of those players that, when you're watching the match, sometimes you can get lost in the pack because he's not maybe doing a lot of scoring and things like that. But sometimes if you watch a match back, you're looking at it and it was like, okay, so Conor Stakelum was the man to flick that ball out of the ruck, or win that ball in the ruck and pop it off to a fella who popped it off to another fella and it was over the bar. But it wouldn't have happened if Conor Stakelum wasn't there. And he's a real... the two of those lads are just pure workhorses in the middle of the field, and they do a really good job. And Conor Stakelum, I mentioned, got that point as well to put Tipperary in the lead. He also got a yellow card where I think Galway won a free, and it was when temperatures were kind of raised, and the Galway fella just kind of ran into Conor Stakelum after winning the free, and Stakelum got yellow carded. So that's how I saw it in real time. I could look back on that now and be completely wrong. But up to Jake Morris, and like, what a performance from Jake. 8 points in the game, 5 from play. Such leadership shown. Some of the takes he had were ball coming into him, awful conditions, man right on top of him, somehow wins his possession, bursts through, sets up a score or scores himself. A couple of times he took the ball on, could have gone for a goal once or twice, put it over the bar to keep things ticking over. Just a brilliant performance from Jake. And we've seen Jake develop so much in the last few years. Like, he's so strong now, still has that speed, so much skill. He's real hardy now as well. And it's just brilliant to see him continue the form he showed in 2025 in 2026. Andrew Ormond, likewise, the work rate of Andrew Ormond was something to see the other day. He was everywhere, getting hooks and blocks, flicking balls out of rucks. Also got 2 points and played a big role in Tipperary's goal, which I mentioned as well. Sam O'Farrell, such an efficient player. The couple of balls he got in the first half where Jake played that lovely crossfield ball over to him, cut in on his left, put it over the bar. Sam is just such a clever player and a real good head in his shoulders. So, Sam is one of these players who's like Darren McCarthy, Oisin O'Donoghue. He's only on his second year playing with Tipperary. Like, he made his debut against Galway in the league last year, and he just looks like he's been there for years. So comfortable, and 2 points to his name, involved in a lot of the nitty gritty stuff around the middle of the field as well, and tracking back a lot as well. So have to be impressed with Sam O'Farrell's performance. And I think he's playing with Galway, University of Galway this evening in the Fitzgibbon Cup. So I think they're playing Waterford. So I'll have to keep an eye on that. I think might be one or two other Tipperary players on that, but I'll have to double check. That match is happening now. By the time you're listening to this, it's over. But into the Tipperary full forward line, Darren McCarthy got a few good possessions, set up a few scores, nailed maybe 80-90% of his frees, missed one or two. We'll get back to the free taking, but solid overall. Kind of tired towards in the second half, and he was substituted. So these lads are playing a lot of Fitzgibbon as well, has to be taken into account, but solid stuff from Darren McCarthy. Oisin O'Donoghue, while not scoring, I thought he was very good at showing for the ball, winning dirty possession. He set up a few scores, and he's a real outball. Like, a lot of ball was played 30 yards out in front of Oisin, where on a summer's day, the ball is skidding in towards you. Not the other day in Thurles. He had to run out to it, win a real ugly ball on the ground, flick it off to someone. He popped one off to Jake early in the game where Jake put it over the bar from the sideline, and no score to Oisin O'Donoghue's name, but he done so much for Tipperary, and a real good performance for him. And then we come to Jack Leamy. Look, he didn't really get the ball in his hand at all. I can remember one time where he kicked the ball forward out of a ruck and it went forward towards a Galway player, and they cleared their lines. But just a difficult debut for Jack Leamy. There's no two ways about it. Taken off at half time is going to be disappointing for him on his debut, but I think he is enough built up, like in terms of his performances last year with Golden Kilfeacle. This is a big step up, of course, to inter-county hurling, but like Liam Cowell didn't start Jack Leamy because he hurled well with Golden Kilfeacle last year. Liam Cowell started Jack Leamy because he must be going well in training as well as how well he did with Golden last week. So it's a pity that maybe that training form didn't transfer to the pitch in Semple Stadium the other day, but I'm sure he will be just chomping at the bit to get another chance. And we've seen it before with Liam. He'll give lads chances if they're showing him something. So hopefully we get to see Jack Leamy kind of fulfill his potential a little bit more than what we saw the other day. But again, difficult conditions to make your debut in as a forward. So hopefully we get to see Jack Leamy again. The substitutions we saw, we mentioned Johnny Ryan. Josh Keller come on for Joe Caesar, which I was happy to see and thought he done well. He hurled like he hurls with Nina, so he was getting on into rucks. For a big lad, he's very good in rucks at just winning the ball, and a great man to take the ball in, bring in a few defenders and pop a hand pass. I think I referred to him as an overlap creating machine last week. So thought it was a solid performance for Josh Keller. And probably have to be happy with how he performed. Paddy McCormick came on, won a few frees, won a few hard balls, set up a few scores as well. He had that nice kind of interplay with Jake Morris, where Jake passed it to him and he popped it off and sent a nice ball across to someone as well for a point. I'm trying to think. I think it was actually Seamus Kennedy he sent the ball over to, and that's when Seamus kind of bobbled it over Dahi Burke's head and put it over the bar. So that's Paddy McCormick's debut, and solid stuff from him. Stephen Tobin came on. One ball came into him. He was out in front of his man. He wins the free. All you can ask for. Still has that leg fairly heavily strapped up, so you'd hope that all is okay there and he gets more confidence by playing more games. But he's another one like Cathal O'Reilly from the 2024 minor All-Ireland winning team that they're ahead of schedule, you'd have to say, in terms of making the transition to senior. But it's great to see, and just a proud moment for a lot of Carrick Swan supporters there that Stephen got on and made his debut, and hopefully we see him an awful lot more. I've great time for his ability, and we saw it with Carrick Swan last year, the classy scores he was getting, even in that county final against Upper Church Drumban. So real excited to see his development as well. Dara Stakelum come on for Jack Leamy. I mentioned he cut out a short puck out that led to a point. He scored the goal. He set up some other scores as well, and just a very good performance from Dara Stakelum, which we're getting used to in Tipperary the last kind of 18 months. His performances last year with Tip, very solid as well. So a player that's still developing and getting better and better year on year. So another good performance there. So that was it in terms of performances for Tipperary. The unused substitutions: Barry Hogan, Adam Daly, Cahill English, Jason Ford, Conor Martin and Peter McGarry. You'd have to think we might see a few of those against Offaly next Sunday. Any other things to mention? I have some bits written out in my podcast notes here. The final quarter, we mentioned that. The bench impact, yeah, we kind of mentioned that as well. And the debuts, so we saw the debuts there of Stephen Tobin, Paddy McCormack, Cahill O'Reilly, and who am I forgetting? Jack Leamy as well. So I had some suggestions as well. I pulled up on my Twitter, so I put out this tweet yesterday just saying what's coming up on the podcast and anything else worth a mention. Some of those: Jake Morris's performance as captain, says Andy Hickey. We mentioned that Jake's leadership has just been really taken to the next level in the last kind of year and a half. How Willie Connors has become our new cult hero. And John kind of delighted with how Willie Connors has really kind of got his flowers, you could say, in the last year, particularly after the All-Ireland final and his performance there. Because if you go back to this time last year, Willie was in and out of the league. He was kind of dropped for a couple of the championship games, and he hasn't had that kind of clear run. He's been involved with the Tipperary team for the best part of 7 or 8 years at this point, but he never had that kind of Willie Connors is starting every game. He's kind of in and out, but now you're kind of starting to see just how good Willie Connors is, and people up in particularly around North Tipperary would have known how good Willie Connors is for a long time. But his aggression, hardiness, there's roguery in Willie Connors that everyone is aware of, but there's a whole lot of talent there as well. He's not just some dog for the middle of the field that's running in and out of rucks. He's got brilliant hurling in him as well, and well, he didn't score the other day. Another brilliant performance, and yeah, he is becoming like a cult hero, as Denny Ryan says here. Some other things to talk about: footballers, seeing as you were there, says John Martin Halley. We'll get to the footballers later. Referee, I think he had a good game, says Eleanor Dalton Campion. And Galway's free count, I generally thought they fouled a lot. Yeah, I wasn't aware of the free count. Scoreable frees, according to Micheál Donoghue, was 11-4 in favour of Tipperary. So look, maybe if it was the other way around, I'd be here complaining as a Tipperary man. But during the course of the game, I didn't really notice that. Again, I'd have to look back on it. I watch back highlights. I have to watch back the game in full. So highlights don't really show the frees all too much. But Sean Stack was refereeing. I thought he'd done fairly fine. He kind of let people away with the extra step. Myself and Ken mentioned that on commentary, Ken Hogan, that he was letting lads get away with the extra step because of the conditions. Players were often taking that one extra step because you need an extra step or two to get your balance in those conditions, and it led to a better flow of the game where it wasn't a load of frees for overcarrying or things like that. So I thought Sean Stack did pretty fine. And we have Mark Corcoran here who says something about looking forward to the podcast, Paul. Some perspective would be nice, some strange characters out there, and podcasts giving platforms to weird things like this. And that is in reference to someone who was on a bit of a solo run on Twitter. I'm not sure if you saw the posts over the weekend, but someone had got their time app out on the iPhone and were timing how long Tipperary's frees were taken, and they're some fairly unnecessary commentary around it and saying that, hopefully Cork supporters get on Dara McCarthy's back. And it was funny, as I was reading all this guy's tweet, and this guy had 7 or 8 tweets tweeting different journalists and things like that about Dara McCarthy, and he's taken too long over the frees and it's sucking the life out of the game and something needs to be done and rules need to be changed, and suggestion that you should only have 5 seconds to take the free after you put the ball down and different things like this. And I was kind of saying, in my first thing that came to my head was, where's this lad from? and he's from Cork, so take of that what you will. But I've had this in my head for a while, and if any of you listened to my interview with Jason Ford and Darren McCarthy and Jake Morris there around Christmas time, I did mention it to Dara about the All-Ireland final and his free-taking routine. It lends its hand to supporters of the opposition sometimes getting on his back, and Dara spoke well about it, and I said it to him at that time that I don't think you take as long as people think, and I've always had it in my head that TJ Reid takes quite a while over frees. So some people on Twitter were having a go at this fella for, God, like, what sort of life have you where you're getting out a stopwatch and timing these frees, and I'm not having a go at this lad, because I was like, right, I'm going to do that. I'm going to get my stopwatch out and I'm going to time how long Darren McCarthy takes on his frees, how long Patrick Horgan takes on his frees, how long TJ Reid takes on his frees, just to get an idea that this idea that I've had in my head that, yeah, he takes a bit longer than maybe average, but it's not unprecedented how long he takes. It's an unprecedented routine, I think, in terms of throwing up the piece of grass, standing over the ball, taking a step back and all that. But let's see the evidence here. So we'll get down to this. We'll talk about the attendance as well. I'll get to that in just a second. So, right, we're going to look at TJ Reid's time to take free. So I just went to the All-Ireland semi-final last year, watched it back and recorded how long it took TJ Reid to take a free. And I did the same with Patrick Horgan and Darren McCarthy. So how I did it was not from the time the free was given, because sometimes the referees give a yellow card, sometimes there's injured players, and there's different reasons for the time between a free being awarded and a free being taken could be longer, and that could have nothing to do with whoever's taken the free. So I did it from the time where the free routine is starting. So for Patrick Horgan, you see him get the ball, he kind of looks at the ground and he starts brushing his right foot over the grass to pick a spot. That's the start of his routine. For most people, it's putting the ball down. So that's where I started it. So let's look at TJ Reid here. So this is the All-Ireland semi-final last year, 32 minutes, 45 seconds into the game. The camera cuts to TJ after the ball was placed. So I have this up here, I believe. So let's watch a bit of this. So this is Derek Ling on the screen now if you're just listening or watching on YouTube. And here's TJ Reid, right? So the ball is already on the ground. He's already started his routine. If you were to look at where he's standing, where the ball is, he probably started his routine maybe 4 or 5 seconds ago. But let's just call it 32:45 as we see it on the screen in front of us. So this is TJ Reid's free taking routine. And before anyone says anything, TJ Reid is like my favourite hurler of all time. So you won't hear me giving out about TJ Reid. So he put it down at 32:45. He's still over it now. Now he's hunched over, and now he strikes the ball about 33:03. So that is, 18 seconds from when the camera cut to him. And that's why I have this 22 seconds, give or take, is how long TJ Reid took. Now, the 5 frees I recorded TJ Reid, 17 seconds from a free that was on the 21-yard line, 20 seconds for another free that was on the 21, then 22 seconds for his second free. His third free was a 65, or from the 65, that took 25 seconds, and then the free we just watched was 22. You average that out, look, small sample size, but the routine for free takers is pretty much the same, 21 seconds around that time. So that's how long TJ Reid takes. Patrick Horgan, only went to the 4 on him. Patrick Horgan usually takes his frees pretty quickly. The 4 I recorded was approximately 12 seconds, approximately 10 seconds. There was a player down beside him and the cameras weren't on him, so you couldn't see exactly when he started his routine. His third free was 16 seconds. The camera was on him start to finish. The free was from around the edge of the D. We'll watch that one in just a second. And then his free at the start of the second half that went wide, that took 17 seconds in the All-Ireland final. So if you average them out, it's around 13.75, call it 14 seconds. But let's watch Patrick Horgan's free-taking routine here, as I have it up here. No, actually, I don't have that up. It is, 24:03, I think I said. So we'll have to go back a little bit. Apologies now, I thought I had it up. That's him there now. So we'll go back here. Now it's starting to buffer, right? Okay, we'll go back one more. Right, so here we go. This is Patrick Horgan. You can see him now starting his routine, brushing the grass with his right foot, putting the ball down. That started at about 24:05. So 10 seconds have gone. He's lining it up now, and there we go. So, it was about, like, you want to go do it exactly, it was around 17 seconds there when the camera cut to him. He was already brushing the grass there, so he already started the routine. So Patrick Horgan, very unbelievable free taker throughout his career, but that's how long he takes. Right, so let's get to Darren McCarthy now. This is in the All-Ireland final. You can see the 5 frees are recorded for Darren McCarthy. The first one, 18 seconds. Jason Ford was down injured beside him, so he had to wait for Jason to get up and give him his hurley back, and then the routine started, and from there it was 18 seconds. His second free was 20 seconds from when it was started, so he was standing over the ball and the ref blew his whistle. There was a couple of players in the way or whatever, so he started the routine again. It was about 20 seconds. Then his third free, approximately 23 seconds. I have camera cut to him as he was placing it down. And free number 4, the camera is on him from the start to finish. The free is at the edge of the D, and that took 17 seconds. So let's see this free. It was at 31:30 of the All-Ireland final. So just a little bit forward on that. You can see him standing over it there now. So there's 31:30. So here's Darren McCarthy. So free taking routine starts now. He was half a second before that. He had his back to goal, so he was finding the spot. So 31:35 on the clock as he places the ball down. Now he stands over it. He's going through his routine. Now this is a straightforward free, so you could argue maybe he goes a little bit quicker on such a close range free. So, excuse me. So what do we say? 31:35. And there we go, 31:52. He strikes it and over the bar it goes. So when you look at that and average them out, Darren McCarthy's free and the last free he took, the start time was not exact as the referee was booking Robert Downey. That was in the second half. 25 seconds is what I put down for that. So if you average them out for Darren McCarthy, 20.6 seconds. So that is actually shorter than TJ Reid, if not the same. So Darren McCarthy's free taking routine, while it is unique, it is not different, and I think that's it. I could just sense this kind of thing growing a little bit on Twitter, talked about in different places. So I just wanted to look into it myself. So to quickly summarize, and maybe I'll clip this up into a TikTok so I don't have to double my workload here. But over the course of the weekend, we saw a little bit of criticism in terms of Darren McCarthy and how long he takes to take a free. So I decided to do a little bit of research, looked at some other free takers around the country, how long they take to take 5 frees. We do the timeout in average. So, and compare that to see how long Darren McCarthy really takes over his free. So the All-Ireland semi-finals last year, the first 5 frees of the game that TJ Reid took, those are the times here: 17 seconds, 22, 25, 22 and 20 for an average of 21 seconds per free in terms of when they started their routine. So when they put the ball down and went into their routine, not when the free was awarded. Okay, so this is when they start their routine. So that was TJ Reid in the All-Ireland semi-final last year. If we look at All-Ireland final this year, Patrick Horgan, a quicker free taker, 12 seconds, approximately 10 seconds. These aren't exact because you're relying on when the camera's cut to the players. 16 seconds and 17 seconds. So around 13.75, call it 14 seconds is how long Patrick Horgan takes over his frees. Darren McCarthy in the All-Ireland final, 18 seconds for his first free, 20 for his second, 23 for his third, 17 for his fourth, which you could see start to finish on the camera at 31 minutes 30 seconds of the All-Ireland final if you want to look back. And his fifth free was 25 seconds, but not exact as the referee was booking Robert Downey at the time, and it made it awkward to see exactly on camera when he did it. But averaged that out for 20.6 seconds. So that is actually a little bit shorter than how long it takes TJ Reid to take a free. So Darren McCarthy's free taking routine, while the routine itself is unusual, the time it takes is not unusual. So yeah, that is just a little thing that I'll share on TikTok, and you know yourself, get the word out there. So that was just something I wanted to bring up on this week's podcast. Hopefully you take something from that. Hopefully that was worthwhile. And yeah, that's always something I wanted to address. So that's, in my book, Shinné. That's that. We'll move on from that. That doesn't need to become anything bigger than it needs to be. The other thing I wanted to bring up from a Twitter point of view, there was a little bit of sneering at the 8,000 or just under 7,700 and something that was in Thurles on Saturday, as if that was like a bad turnout for a January 25th, 24th game in miserable wet conditions on a Saturday evening in Semple Stadium. That was a very healthy crowd given the conditions, etc. If that was just not as wet, you probably would have had another 1,000, 2,000 people in there, and you're at around 10,000. So there was a bit of sneering at that. There was a brilliant crowd in Páirc Uí Chaoimh on Sunday, 20,000 or so. And this isn't going to be a Tip versus Cork thing. I'm a GA supporter, and it's brilliant that we have these crowds at these games, and the support that Cork have had has added so much to hurling in particular and the colour around the Munster Championship. So I'm not for a minute kind of pitting those against each other, but I'll put a little bit of perspective on it, because there was a little bit of that on Twitter of, oh yeah, there was more at Cork than there was at the Kerry and Tipperary, the both All-Ireland final games over the weekend. I think it was 6,000 for the Kerry game. Just a little bit of perspective, 7,762 in Thurles. Tipperary, as of the 2022 census, has 182,900 people. So 4.25% of the Tipperary population was in Semple Stadium on Saturday night. In Cork, bearing in mind this is a doubleheader as well with their footballers, 20,464. Brilliant crowd for first round of a league game. And Cork's census in 2022, 584,156. So that was 3.5% of Cork's population was in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. Compare that with 4.25% of Tipperary's population in Thurles. It's a demographics thing. You know, both teams are fairly well supported. And again, this isn't a dig at Cork. I'm just saying, don't be digging out us in Tipperary because there was 8,000 at a wet league game on an awful night in January. Do you know, that's all I'm saying. And you know, it's fairly well represented, I'd have to say. So that is just another little thing I wanted to bring up on the podcast. A few more things to get to. What are we, about 40 minutes into this? Attendance freeze, we mentioned that. Okay, we're up to Liam Cahill's quotes now. So Liam done the post-match interview with a few media outlets, and then all the journalists in the kind of scrum style interview in the hallways of Semple Stadium after the game, of which I was involved in that scrum. So some things that Liam mentioned: Joe Caesar and Robert Doyle were soft tissue injuries, that's why they went off. He mentioned Ronan Maher, Craig Morgan, John McGrath, Noel McGrath, and other more established players started back in early January. So some of those started back later than, you know, the late November, like some of the other players. So a couple of those lads will be slowly integrated back into the squad. Ronan will be another few weeks, he said, but others could be in the squad next week. So we could see some of the more established players, and we didn't see Owen Connolly at the weekend, John McGrath, Noel McGrath, etc. So we could see a few more of those in the squad next weekend. Alan Tynan, surgery last week. He broke his collarbone. I think it was a broken collarbone, certainly a shoulder injury anyway. Liam said he's responding well, but he will be out for the longer term. I think 3 months-ish was what was kind of thrown around earlier, but we'll see how we get on. Liam also mentioned Brian McGrath, foot injury. He suffered against Kerry. He'll be out for another 2 or 3 weeks minimum. And Liam also mentioned he was very unlucky. So from being there, the way Liam said that, he was like, Brian was very unlucky, as if to say, how I read it anyway, was Liam kind of saying, that's a very unlucky one for Brian. He was very much in our plans for this time of the year, and very unlucky to get the injury at the time he did. That's how I kind of read it. And I mentioned it on my last podcast that, you know, I had seen Brian McGrath getting a crack at centre back while Ronan Maher was out for the first few weeks. So it is a real kind of sickener for Brian McGrath that foot injury came at that time. Another thing Liam mentioned was more under 20s are in training with the squad that weren't named on the panel. So the panel was named last week. Was there 43 players on it? But Liam said that there was other under 20 players in training last week. Because they need numbers at training. There was a few lads injured, and yeah, they want to expose these lads as well to the next level of training. So interesting to know who some of those lads were, but there is more under-20s in training with the senior squads than that was released on the official league squad. So that's something to I just thought was worth mentioning to you as well. And as we progress on through the podcast, a reminder to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And it's weekly videos here, and at P. Carroll Sport on all your social media websites as well. So let's move it on. We'll talk a little bit about the Tipperary footballers, as a couple of you mentioned, both on my Twitter and on my Instagram story, just suggesting different things. So I'll keep it quick, because I know, a lot of you maybe would be more interested in the hurling than the football, but I have a big affinity for the Tipperary football is a great kind of community. It's the same people you're seeing at the games, and everyone's kind of on the pitch after the games chatting away to each other. It's a lovely kind of community nearly to be a part of, the Tip football scene. They're over in London in Division 4, the first round of the league on Sunday, and they got a draw 21 points apiece. Tip were beaten by London last year, and then the year before it was a draw over in McGovern Park, so you knew this was always going to be a real tight game, and that's how it proved to be. Tip get a last minute 2-pointer with Keane Smith from Clonmel Commercials, just his second year in the panel, a 21-year-old player, kicked the last kick of the game, like the ref blew it up on the kick out. Tip down by 2-point attempt, lovely left boot of Keane Smith, sails it over the bar. Tip got 5 2-pointers in the game, all from in the second half as well. 3 from Shawnee O'Connor. Shawnee is an unbelievable football player. If you get a chance to go to a Tip football match, they have a lot of exciting forwards coming through the ranks. Shawnee is well established now in the last 5 years or so, but Keane Smith, lovely player to watch. Dahi Hogan, a real exciting player as well. Micheál Freeney came on and kicked a lovely 2-pointer, and Tip needed all of these because they kept finding themselves getting back to a point within London, and then London would get a few quick fire scores and it was back out to 4 or 5 points, and Tip kicked some big 2-pointers. Micheál Freeney from Kilsheelan came on and kicked a lovely one. You might remember him from last year. He scored a load of goals for Tipperary last year. This is only his second year in the senior squad. He's the same age as Keane Smith, but you might remember him last year in the county semi-final. Got that last minute winner for Kilsheelan to beat Lockmore Castleiney. So a really talented player. And we saw some debuts as well. League debuts for Charlie King, Joe Higgins, Shane Garland in goals. There was also league debuts for Dahi Hogan, as I mentioned. Paddy O'Keefe was a real exciting player from Moy Rovers. He came on as well and made his league debut. There was also a league debut for Owen O'Connell. He played in the Talton Cup last year, but in terms of in the league, that was his league debut. Dahi Hogan as well is similar to Owen O'Connell, played in the Talton Cup last year, but first time in the league. Shane Garland in goals for Tipperary. He's from Monaghan, but he's moved to Kilsheelan, and he played outfield for Kilsheelan last year, but he was sub-goalie for Monaghan for a few years behind Rory Began. So he's in goals for Tipperary at the minute. Shane Ryan, of course, the son of Philly, suffered an injury in pre-season, so he's going to be out for a couple of 3-4 weeks, I think, at the minimum. So Shane Garland is in there and had a good solid debut, made a good save. Kickouts were fairly solid. But overall, this is a young Tipperary team coming through. There were 7 league debuts. Owen Craddock there from Holy Cross, who you might know from the hurling side of things. That was his debut, my first time seeing him play football, and a very solid performance as well. And look, I think there's a lot to be excited about for this Tipperary team. They're young, they're inexperienced, but they have a lot of talent. And as that squad is growing, there's starting to become options on the bench and things like that. So, let's see, can they keep it going? They're against Antrim on Sunday at 2 o'clock, exact same time as the Tip Offaly match. So that is a bit of a sickener. But all in all, really good to get a result from that game in London, because it really didn't look likely for large parts of that game. London's half-forward line was very dominant. Joe McGill scored, 7 points. Daniel Clark, 6. Christian Healy, 3. That was their half-forward line, and their full-forward Shea Rafter got 4 points as well. So Tip couldn't really come to grips with that. Paddy Feehan, the captain, was centre-back and surged forward for a really good score at one stage. But he was sick all week, apparently, last week, so didn't have the full energy in the tank. So he was taken off in the second half, which wouldn't be the case if Paddy Feehan was 100%. Stephen O'Brien, likewise, as well, was taken off in the second half, kind of recovering. He was kind of 50-50 to play the game, as far as I'm aware, with some sort of an injury, but got through it, was taken off just as a kind of a we need you for the next day kind of thing. We don't want to push this further than we need to. So that's how the Tipperary footballers got on over the weekend. But yeah, I'd say if you can get to a Tip football game this year, of course this Sunday might be a bit difficult with the circumstances around the game being on the exact same time as the hurlers. But Tip football, entertaining team to watch, kick some brilliant scores, and unlucky in a way not to get the win. They had 7 wides. They had 8 wides actually compared to London's 4. And Shawnee O'Connor had a goal chance where one of the London defenders was similar to Cathal O'Reilly, just kind of diving block to get it away from Shawnee O'Connor. But if you can get to a Tip football match this year, I would certainly recommend it. They've 4 home games as well, so you have 4 chances to get in and support the lads. So elsewhere, the Harty Cup this coming Saturday at 1 o'clock in Zimmer Biomet Park, so Cusack Park in Ennis. Nina CBS against St. Flannan's. Really looking forward to this. This will be live on Tip FM. We'll also have live commentary of Tip against Offaly as well on Sunday on Tip FM if you do want to tune in. But yeah, really looking forward to this Harty Cup. I was at the launch of the final last week, so keep an eye out on Tip FM social media pages and my own social media pages. You'll see an interview with Owen Duhan and another one with Donach O'Donnell as well. So it's really looking forward to this. All of us up here around North Tipperary, particularly around the surrounding parishes of Nina, really looking forward to this. I know from a Burgess point of view, we've 3 lads that started the semi-final and another few lads on the bench, so it's really kind of exciting to see these lads at this level. And likewise for all the clubs, there's a wide spread of clubs. Nina have a few fine players in there, Bursley, Toomey Vara. I don't want to start leaving people out now, but Killer One McDonough's, Shane Cleary there at centre back, and much more as well. Nearly every club around North Tipperary is represented. Ballina, Nina, Toom, throughout. So I don't want to go listing everyone, but really looking forward to this one. Flannans, of course, were beaten in the final by Thurles CBS last year, and Harry Doherty was at the launch, one of the vice captains for Flannans, and he's a massive lad for a 6th-year student or whatever, and a real fine hurler as well. Brendan Bugler, former Clare hurler, is teaching in there and is a coach over them, and was chatting away to him. Fierce nice fella. Would have never have spoken to Brendan Bugler before, but he was telling me about the tragedy they had in the school before, just around Christmas time, where one of the 5th-year students who was full back on the Dean Ryan Cup team just tragically lost his life in a tractor accident on the way to a tractor run, and just real devastating news for the school that was. And I think was he a Ballier club man? I'm apologise now, I don't have his name off the top of my head, but so difficult time for the Flannans lads and for their hurlers. So this is a very big occasion for their school as well. But for Nina CBS, it's a chance to try and keep the streak going in Tipperary. We've won the last 3 Harty Cups. Tip have never won 4 in a row. I think they won 3 in a row back through the years. I was looking at it earlier. I'll have my stats and notes and that pinned down for my commentary on Saturday. But this would be an unprecedented thing if a Tipperary school could win it for a 4th year in a row. We had Cashel, then we had Nina 2 years ago, then we had Thurles last year, and we've Nina back in the final this year. So Nina only won their first Harty Cup 2 years ago with Darren McCarthy, and now it's a whole new squad. A couple of the players would have played that day. You had the likes of Austin Duff, Owen Duhan, Joe Dwyer from my own club would have been involved in that team, and much more lads on the bench as well. 2 years ago would be playing as well. And Nina even have a solid team. Darrow Dwyer from Kildangan at full back, and it's a very solid team. But they played Flannans earlier in the year. Nina were 10 points up at half time. Owen Duhan went off with an injury, and Flannans roared back into the game and drew level, and Nina I think had to get a free that they laid on to level that game. So or certainly needed frees anyway to either level it or go up by 1, and the game finished level anyway. So this is going to be really close. The Nina lads on TikTok and that and all their supporters bring a real good atmosphere to the thing, and I'm sure Flannans will be likewise as well. So it should be just full of colour in Ennis on Saturday. I can't wait for it, and as a past pupil of Nina CBS, I'm really looking forward to it and wishing them well. So that's something to really look forward to on Saturday. And wouldn't it be great if another Tipperary school could continue the great run we've had in the Harty Cup the last few years. And while we're mentioning that, high school Clonmel into the Kearney-Vurry final, which is the Harty Cup of football for some of the hurling supporters which aren't aware. So unbelievable achievement for high school Clonmel. Paddy O'Gorman, the Tip under-20 football manager, is over their team, along with David Power, former Tip senior football manager, the current Tip ladies football manager. Is Kieran Barrett is involved there as well. So brilliant stuff for high school Clonmel. I'll be at the launch of that actually on Thursday. So I'll be getting audio from that for next week. But Abbey CBS, I think, are into the Munster B schools football final as well. So just brilliant stuff to see these Tipperary schools going deep in these Munster competitions. Excuse me, the high school were in the final 10 years ago, and they came up against a team that had some fella called David Clifford playing for them, and he's apparently really good. And high school fell foul to his talents and his teammates' talents on that day. But yeah, so hopefully their opponents, Tralee CBS, don't have a David Clifford-esque talent coming through, because that was certainly something that hindered high school Clonmel in the final 10 years ago, coming up against the great David Clifford. But that's how that went. So that is nearly it. I just want to mention the club fixtures. The fixtures master plan was announced earlier today on Tuesday. So for all the club players, you have an idea now of when you can book holidays, when you're playing, etc. So the link is actually on the TipGA website, on the TipGA Twitter as well, if you want to see the link. If you want to see the link and see this spreadsheet that you see on your screen now. The league starts, the Hurling League starts on March 15th. The Football League starts the weekend before that, actually, on March 8th. So still a little bit early for my liking. I always find that the last few years when the league has started early for the clubs, you kind of get a lull in like late May, June, if you're not one of the teams that makes it to the finals of the leagues. And it kind of leaves it a difficult time for clubs to balance out. Right, we've done all this training, we've been playing week on week. Now we're not really playing for 6 weeks to 2 months before the divisional championship starts. So that's just been an opinion I've had anyway for the last few years. But I'm sure if you talk to the lads in the CCC making the fixtures and that there's good reason for it. The county championships then begin. The senior Premier Intermediate and Intermediate Hurling Championships, county championships, the last weekend of July. So that is the weekend of the 26th of July. The football starts the following weekend, August the 2nd, and that's when the county football championships get underway. And then if we scroll to October, the finals. So you see it here. The hurling finals are on the weekend of October the 11th, and the football finals are on the weekend of October 18th. So that's where we are, and you can see all the different, the under-21s and all the different fixtures that are there in the Tipperary. The inter-county fixtures are there as well, in terms of if you're ever booking a holiday or someone asks you, oh, what are you doing this weekend? It's always a nice little thing to have this. I have it. Last year I had it pinned up in the office inside work, and I printed out this year's one, and I'll be doing the same tomorrow, sticking it up on the wall. Always handy to be like, right, what's happening that weekend? So yeah, that is pretty much it in terms of looking ahead to Tipperary versus Offaly next week, Sunday 2 o'clock in Tullamore. Lovely venue, Tullamore, but for a commentary point of view, it's one of those commentary boxes where you're behind glass, and I hate that. On radio, it's on radio. Like one of my favourite commentaries recently was the Nina CBS, Thurles CBS, because we were set up in the stand, and it sounds brilliant on the radio because you're in amongst the crowd and there's a great atmosphere coming through. When you're behind the glass box, it just sounds kind of crappy. It sounds like you're in a studio, and if I or my co-commentator stop talking for a second, it's dead silence. There's no kind of background ambience to keep the thing going. So you don't really care about that if you're going to the game, but that's just something about O'Connor Park in Tullamore. There's a few other places like it around the country as well. But Offaly seemed to put up a real good show against Kilkenny. I haven't probably watched that game back. I might try and see can I get it during the week. But sure, we all know about this Offaly team in Tipperary. Beat us in the under-20 All-Ireland a couple of years ago. They're There's Tipperary lads involved, of course, Tony Gleeson, my own clubman, involved with them this year. Johnny Kelly, manager, who's been over Bursalee when they got to the All-Ireland final, been over Nina Rogue in recent years as well. So we all know an awful lot about Offaly and the talent of hurlers they have coming through. So difficult task away from home, and then it's away to Cork the following weekend. So busy period for Tipperary. I'm sure there'll be squad rotation. I didn't actually do out a predicted lineup, but some interesting things that I'll be looking to see when the team is released. If it's the same time as last week, it would be Thursday evening, but maybe because the game is on Sunday, maybe it might be Friday evening by the time we get to team news. But things I want to see is, will Liam go with Rhys Shelley again in goals, or will he start rotating him throughout the league like he's done in years gone by? Who will come in to start? Will we see the likes of a Jason Ford starting? I think we might. Will we see, let me pull up the team sheet just so I'm not forgetting, lads. That is the football team. Where am I looking here? Yeah, so will we see the likes of Conor Martin, Cathal English? Could Josh Keller get a start? Peter McGarry, would he come in to start? I think some of it might be dictated as well by how the Fitzgibbon Cup goes during the week, in terms of who might be playing and the workload that goes on them players as well. So interesting to see the lineup. Very interesting to see. Almost impossible to predict. If I was to sit here and predict the lineup, I don't know how much I got actually last week in terms of how much I predicted correct, but I'd say I got a fair few last week. But just Shawnee Kennelly, will we see someone like him back in the lineup? Who knows? Very interesting to see how Tip line up in that game. But if Tip can get a victory in Tullamore, it just would put us in a very healthy position for the rest of the league. You'd be on 4 points from 4. You get to go down to Cork. There could be a huge crowd at that game, big atmosphere. That would be a big test. If you played a few of the younger players in that game, a real kind of baptism of fire down there, that would be brilliant. But have to get over Offaly this weekend. Can't be looking past these games. Offaly will be just looking to turn over Tipperary as best they can and put in a good performance against Kilkenny. So they're more than capable. So it's just about Tipperary being back to business. The lads seem hungry to stay winning matches, which is brilliant to see. So hopefully they can do it. And we'll be looking back on all that on next week's podcast and looking ahead to Cork as well. So I feel like this has gone on maybe longer than the usual podcast. What is it? An hour and 2 minutes. Be God. Didn't expect that. So that's where we are here in Tipperary. Sorry if you're looking at that screen. It's kind of an ugly thing to be looking at. For the last while. Maybe that looks a little bit better. Should have done that earlier. But that is this week's podcast. If you have liked it, be sure to like the video, give it a like. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We got a great response to last week's podcast. So big thanks for that from everyone here on YouTube and over on Spotify as well. So really enjoyed this chat, sitting in my kitchen talking to myself about Tip hurling. But I hope you got something out of it. And I hope you'll give us a like, share, do all that stuff as well. So until next week's podcast, have a great week. We'll be back hopefully next Monday by the time I get to record next week's podcast. But for this week's episode of the Paul Carroll Sport Podcast, good luck and God bless.